So in recent weeks, I told you something. I wanted you to stop running from the weight that was yours, the weight that you were born to carry. And today, I'm telling you why I wish I'd done that sooner. I'm in my late 50s now, and I'm watching my kids raise their children. Well, some of them have newborns, and it's taken a lot of their time, obviously. It's nice to have these newborns in your arms just months after birth, thinking about all the things that you want to have for them in their life as they grow. And I'm very appreciative of all my kids showing up. They're owning it, right? So that makes me proud. But at the same time, I look back on my own life. During my 20s and 30s, I had 3 kids. Yeah. And man, I wish I'd known some of these things earlier. I wished I'd stopped drifting sooner or being distracted. You know, I was living in a world where Gen Xers didn't have the internet, and all of a sudden we had it, and it was big, and it was a big distraction. And it took away from some of the things that I probably should have been doing. And so I know you're distracted with these things, so that's why I'm mentioning it. I wish I could have carried my weight before it nearly crushed me. So here are the 5 things that I wish I knew back then so that my kids don't make those same mistakes and don't learn the hard way. And maybe you won't either. We talk a lot about clarity on this channel, and I talk about how to get clarity. And I want you to know clarity is not an option. It's not optional in your life. It's the first fight. It's the number one thing in your life that you need. Clarity isn't nice to have. It's the first thing to have. It's the first battle you need to win. I spent my 20s and early 30s chasing what I thought was the right thing, and a lot of those things just felt good. Unfortunately, they were just quick fixes. I never really stopped to ask the harder questions. Where am I actually going? What actually matters? I was moving pretty fast, unfortunately, but I was moving pretty fast in circles. And during that time, I was reading a lot of scripture, and sometimes it just takes a while for scripture to sometimes sink in. I read a lot of Proverbs during that time frame because I felt they were very foundational in what it meant to be a man. And in Proverbs 4 verses 23, it says, "Above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it." So be on guard, it says, right? Get clear on what's in there. Because if your heart's in the wrong place, or if your heart's a little bit foggy, then your whole life is going to drift. I just wish I would have fought for clarity sooner. It would have saved a few years of regret. The second thing I would love to tell my younger self: discipline's going to follow the clarity, not the other way around. I spoke about this in a couple videos ago, and how much easier discipline becomes once that clarity and that path is very clear to you. Discipline without that clarity is just punishment in disguise. And I ground hard, multiple jobs. I was pushing hard in my 20s. Took a big toll on my body that I didn't know about until much later, obviously. I'm feeling it now every single day. But grinding hard, working, doing those projects, seeking a career, pushing, starting a business. I had multiple businesses, and I was pushing hard for that success, right? But half the time, sometimes more than half the time, I was grinding towards the wrong thing. And then I'd burn out, and I'd quit. And then you'd start to feel like a failure, and those things would start creeping in your mind psychologically. So seeing the path is really important, because then the discipline's going to pull into your life naturally. I can hear my dad telling me, for the love of mud, don't put the cart before the horse, right? And what I was really trying to say was, when, you gotta be pointing the right direction. You gotta be heading the right direction before you're going to carry this load, right? The cart's there to carry a load. The horse is there to make sure you don't have to carry it all by yourself. But you got to be making sure you're going in the right direction. Or otherwise, you're just wasting your time. I'd have wasted much less time if I had that direction in my life, if I got clarity first. So that's the second thing. Third thing, it's ultimately all that weight that forges you and forges your authority and ultimately helps you guide your legacy. So the weight is important. The responsibilities that you take on in your life is that weight, and it is that forge that begins to shape you. I spent way too much time. I really wasn't dodging it intentionally. Like in some cases, I wanted to take on certain levels of responsibility because I felt like, oh, well, that would make me look important, or that would make me feel important, right? Wrong. We do need to feel like thinking for ourselves, having the freedom, wiping out our load, not wanting to carry a load. We got to think about Galatians 6:5. Each one should carry their own load. Carry it. Own it. When I finally did, things in my life began to improve. My marriage, raising kids, farm life, work life, all of that weight forged a certain level of authority inside me. Not the loud kind, not the proud kind, not the kind that you just want to start telling everybody about. It's the quiet kind that people trust. And now I see my kids doing the same thing, right? They're trying to find that path. They're trying to forge their way. And they're not perfect, but they're present. That matters. They're responsible. That matters. That's authority earned. The fourth thing that I wish I had known in my 20s and 30s. Time's the only thing that you're not going to get back. It's currency. It's the only currency you can't make more of. Some would say Bitcoin. I wasted too much of it, mostly in my 20s and 30s, chasing things that were a distraction, delaying things in my life that really mattered more, made replacements, unfortunately. In Ephesians chapter 5, verse 15 through 16, it says to look carefully then how you walk, not as unwise, but as wise, making the best use of the time, because the days are evil. Now, that's a little extreme, but substitute that word evil for the days are a distraction. The days are things that you shouldn't be looking towards. Certain days are full of things like that, right? So you need to make the best use of your time. I wish I had invested more time in my kids, especially when they were young, and in building real relationships with them. They still have good relationships, I think, but helping them get clear on purpose, like on their purpose. I wish I would have had more time to spend. So now I'm a grandfather and I'm looking at my grandkids' lives and I'm thinking to myself, I don't want to wait, The time with them is now. And the older I get, fewer the days are that are around that I might be here. So I can't waste this time. Don't waste yours. Fifth thing, legacy. Legacy is built on what you carry, not what you avoid. So these burdens that I'm talking about that seem like burdens, when you turn those into clarity and direction, when you carry these loads and these responsibilities, your legacy is going to follow. Legacy is not what you leave behind. Don't be fooled by that. It's what you carry forward. I used to think legacy was money, status, big house, stuff, right? Wrong. It's the weight that you carry well, and your presence and your responsibility and your love while you carry it. That's a legacy that I want to leave. My kids are now carrying that, right? They're in that same mode. They're holding their kids close. They're changing those diapers at 3 a.m., right? They're losing sleep. But they're showing up. And I know they're going to be teaching grounded lessons to their kids. That's what building a legacy is. And I'm proud of them. I'm not because they're perfect. Nobody's perfect. But because they're showing up and they're carrying the load. In 1 Corinthians chapter 16, I think I've mentioned this time and time again. I think it's a good one. Be watchful, stand firm in the faith, and act like men. Be strong. Let all that you do be in love. And I know some guys are big, tough guys, and they don't like even saying that word sometimes, but they love their kids, right? They can feel that love. Don't be afraid to say it. Don't be afraid to show it, because that's what legacy is. Carry it, love through it. Your kids, your grandkids will remember how you carried that weight. So these are the 5 things I wish that I had known in my 20s and 30s. Clarity first, discipline follows, responsibility is what forges your authority, time is irreplaceable, and legacy is carried, not collected. If this hits you, comment something down below. Comment something you wish you'd have done in your 20s and 30s. And comment a mistake you're not going to keep making in your life anymore. You're going to carry that weight, you're going to pick it up, and you're going to move forward. I'll read them. Subscribe if you're done drifting. Hit that notification bell if you're ready to start making some changes in your life, step by step, stone by stone. We'll see you next week.